What is up, everybody? It is Friday evening, and that means independent comics and independent wrestling. Welcome to Indie Alley, the show where we mix the wrestlers, the writers, the artists, the colorists, the letterers. Because we mix wrestling and comics here on Indie Alley. And this week on Indie Alley, we have 4 great comics for you. We're going to answer reader questions. Or not reader questions, listener questions, excuse me. I got into the comics and the reading part. And we're going to talk about some of the pay-per-views we watched over the weekend and this week's wrestling. And so, Fred, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing all right. Long week. It's good to be Friday. I'm excited about the weekend. Lots of great pay-per-views. AEW. Yeah. So, yeah.
Plenty of wrestling this past week. There's plenty of wrestling coming up next week, and plenty of comic books on the way.
Yeah, I have plenty of comic books, and I got to read today. Yesterday and today. It was really nice. I watched a little bit of Fyter Fest again today. Man, that hardcore match was better than I thought it was. Watching it a second time. On point. It was a lot of fun. All right. So, yes, once again, we've got some questions. We asked some of our friends and listeners to submit a couple questions about independent wrestling and independent comics, and we're going to hit those towards the end of the show. So if you're looking for them and you didn't hear them right away, they'll be towards the end.
I guess we should mention before, Ronnie, we're not going to answer your question this week because we need to think this out. This is going to be... we have to put some thought into that
one. Sir, you stumped me. When I read that question, I was like, okay, I've got less than 24 hours to come up with an answer for that one. That's not happening. But it's definitely amazing question. But
yeah, definitely next week we'll come up with the answer, a plan, well thought out plan, like the A-team.
Yeah. I'm like, what's his name? I'm like the crazy one that gets locked up.
Right. Oh, you're Murdoch?
Yeah, I'm Murdoch.
I like to be face.
There you go. Is Joey going to be BA?
Maybe. Sometimes he does have a BA.
All right. Well, that's enough of that. Let's get into our comic books for this week. We have 4 great comic books. Let's start with Ignited number 2. As the students try to overcome their fear of another attack, more chaos erupts at Phoenix Academy High. When 2 mysterious vigilantes, at Viral and at Wave, take a stand against the principal's new radical policy to protect the school. Caught between the authorities and the superpowered vigilantes, Anouk must decide where she will stand to uncover the truth behind the Ignited. Written by Mark Waid and Kwanzaa Osayefo. Art by Phil Brones, colors by Andrew Crossley, lettered by A Large World Studio. We have cover A by Yannick Paquet and colored by Gabriel Elatab, and cover B by John Cassidy, colored by Phil Mounts. It's a new publishing house, Humanoids, Ignite.
I thought Ignited was pretty good. I like the world building. It has a lot of feel like X-Men-esque type of book. Except there is like an issue with the X-Men compared to this, which X-Men, like you and I have mentioned, there's issues with the dialogue, especially with the kids in here. Some of the things don't make any sense because, you have teenagers. I do too, and these are not some things that I would hear my kids say.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm not seeing like It's Lit or there's Ratchet or things like it in here. That's the type of stuff dialogue they have. They don't sit around calling guys Juan Valdez and stuff. That's more our generation, I would think. But other than that, I do like I thought like the lettering and stuff, especially the text messaging scene and stuff, and the callback to what was happening was done really well. I think like the art is pretty good. I do like the lettering where there's like swear words that they kind of edited out. You can still kind of see it faded in and out. Mm-hmm. You can read that. I thought that was a nice touch. For the people that can't speak Spanish, they kind of write underneath everything exactly translation for things. So that was cool too, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was swearing in Spanish too.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
Like Like I'm like, if that was my kid in high school and talking to an adult like that, we'd have issues.
Yeah,
You're getting some soap.
yeah. The way that opened up, I was like, "Whoa, Selena De Laurenta." I mean, come on, she was dropping
Well,
a lot of.
and and the other thing, like with her sitting there, she looks much older than a high schooler. Don't you feel that way?
Yeah, that's a big thing I got from the whole book. They did not look like kids. They didn't feel like kids this time around. I'm still high on this book because I like the idea. That, for lack of a better way to explain it, that we all know as comic book fans, this X-Men type gene that is ignited by trauma is what I would guess is what we're seeing. Trauma ignites it, and then they have powers. I've always been a fan of this, and it's a different way to tell it outside of the X-Men world, which is unfortunately become a bit bloated and unmanageable. That's why Marvel has to keep rebooting it. So just, to build another world, I'm pretty excited about that. But this issue went a little off track for me. I felt like the dialogue, I've expressed this to you about Mark Waid before when he was writing Champions. He sounds like an old man trying to be cool writing teenage dialogue. And we didn't get that the first issue, but we definitely got it this issue. It didn't feel like teenagers. Some of the choices of words and the one kid with the blue hair was difficult to understand. I guess we're trying to show that he has an accent and he speaks different, but it was very difficult to read.
You're mentioning like where he calls someone a wanker, like he's.
No, I know that, but there was other little, like the way the words were spelled, to kind of you would think to pronounce it how it may sound with his accent. It was not. It made for a difficult read. It was a stylistic choice that they made that I didn't enjoy personally. Then I had a problem with, this book opens with a letter written by a mass shooting survivor. She was a survivor. Her junior college, I believe, there was a shooter. And her letter was very poignant, very powerful. And it put me in a certain mood going into the comic. And I guess we're going to get more of this at the beginning of a lot of this story. And it put me in a kind of mood like, I was very excited, very ready. And then this issue kind of went wacky. And
would you say that like this book gives you like a Border Town feel right now?
Yeah, what they did with Border Town, you introduce a certain tone in the book one, and then you start off book two with a very kind of, serious tone. And then you go outlandish. I don't think you can be both. You can't have the student body president standing on top of cars with a megaphone, spouting ridiculous, pro-gun propaganda. Yeah. It's over the top. It's too much. It's hammering people over the head, and it's not realistic. No one would be really doing that. You can't have a character, I don't know where they commandeered a tank, just roll in with a tank like nothing. You know what I mean?
I think that was like somebody's Hummer, but they had something on it.
But
like,
I don't know. It just was. There was a lot of ridiculous mixed in with some very serious things.
Right. It was a bit over the top, especially like it's taking talking points of things that are that have happened in society and stuff, and like things that the right would say, like let the teachers carry guns, or the counselors, or somebody there, an adult, and be able to bring it in there.
Yeah.
And that's where you mentioned like he's with the megaphone. That's what he's saying, and things like that. And then all of a sudden, you have some kid with some powers, like she's throwing origami at people and it's cutting people and things, and you're like, well,
pick a thing. Like, it's okay to hit these points in the way, like one girl says, could you imagine one of the teachers, whatever they name his name, with his shaky hands with a gun? That's realistic dialogue, and it's funny, and it's also a truthful, like, worry that a kid could have. But yeah, then there's other things that are just they were too over the top for me, and I think it needs to decide what it's going to be. Is it going to be a serious, cool, mutant story with this gun violence mixed in, or is it going to be like a goof,
Yeah, it definitely feels like it's using something from like something that's happened, a major event that's happened, a shooting in a school, and it's causing, like, this book is focusing on like tribalism a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Pick a side, you can only stand on one side where there's no common ground. And that, I can say that, I kind of had an issue with Bordertown because there was no common ground.
Yeah.
And I hope that this book doesn't take that way, but looking at some writers that work for this company, it might go that same direction that Bordertown did.
Yeah, and you have to have some realism. I mean, Brian Edward Hill's American Carnage deals with some very difficult topics.
Mm-hmm.
But it is steeped in research and realism. You have a couple of crazy, like you have some scenarios that are a bit Hollywood, I would say, just a touch, but there's still a little piece of you says, that maybe could happen. You know what I mean? So there's some, it's ground in reality as best as you can ground a fictional story like that. This one kind of, they lost the reality on me, and so they have to figure out what they're going to be. But I'm excited, and the great thing is I learned that this is one story of a universe. We got a new comic. I haven't read it yet. We got a comic called Strangelands, which is a different character, different thing. There's a comic called Omni coming out, which is also a different character. There was a little story about the main character from the Omni book at the back of this book. So I don't know. I'm not going to trash the whole universe based on one story.
It was one issue. The first issue was good. The second one, we're like, oh boy, let's see what the third issue has in store for us, because it's going to set the tone of the universe. So let's hope it hits, because it seems like it's got a lot of promise. Let's just hope that these kids start talking like kids and not like 40-year-old men.
Yeah, exactly. So I say keep going. I liked 1. 2 wasn't as good. Let's see what happens in 3.
Right. They can't all be winners.
Yeah. But good looking book still. I like the art. I like the colors.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's a good book. I definitely suggest picking it up, read it, give it a chance, because not everybody has the same taste as us. I mean, if you're that fiery person that likes political views and you like things that are on the left, that type of field, then this book is right for you, I would say.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, because we both agree with certain political things and we're a little standoffish.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't need to insult the people that you disagree with if they don't deserve to be insulted.
Right.
And that's what there were points that they're insulting the other point of view, and that doesn't accomplish anything.
Right. But we're adults, so.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to the next book. Speaking of Brian Edward Hill, Postal Deliverance #1. Postal returns to find Mark struggling with the responsibilities and horrors of being the new mayor of Eden. As the newest member of their community has brought his own personal war with him. Mark's mother, Laura Chiffon, tries to enjoy her retirement in Florida, but violence finds her, and violence might be the only way Laura Chiffon can find peace. Created by Matt Hawkins, written by Brian Edward Hill, artist Rafael Yenko, I believe, it might be Italian, letters by Troy Petrie, the covers by Linda Sejek, and then a second cover by Rafael Yenko again, published by Image, Postal Deliverance #1.
This book right here, if you haven't read any Postal, there are 7 volumes that you can pick up and read to catch up. But if you haven't, I do suggest that you can start off on this book right here and get a type of feel of what's happening. It starts off with some action, a hooded man with a shooting. Looks like would you say like special ops guys that they're like chasing him, and this guy gets on his motorcycle and goes home, and his wife and his daughter are murdered. It's the art in this book, in these scenes, like, Brian Edward Hill does like great dialogue. But this book right here is all art. Like he kind of, stands back and lets his artist tell the story, and it's well done. I mean, probably I would say out of all the books that we do this week, this is probably the prettiest book that I've seen. I like the revenge story in this. Getting back at the end. I don't want to spoil anything, but this might be like my second favorite book of this week. I don't know. It's kind of hard to pick favorites, like picking your favorite kid. That's not plausible.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this book, Andrew?
This book was great. Yeah, the art did take over, which is not surprising. This is a revisit. This is a continuation of a long series, Postal, that Brian Edward Hill co-wrote with Matt Hawkins. So it's getting back on the bike. So in that sense, he doesn't have to spend a lot of time telling you who anyone is, what they're doing, where they're at. So there is maybe a touch of that where you're like, well, who are these people? But I don't think it was so much that you feel like you missed something. That's what I would say. I don't think you have to read the other books. I'm sure reading the other books gives you that great background. You understand who these characters are and why they're where they're at and why he's the mayor. But I don't think you have to. I think it set it up like just a good first book that left you wanting to know more about all these characters. And the new character being the introduction of this new guy who comes to their town and refuses to follow the rules. The town basically is like a haven for people that are trying to disappear. So there's certain rules so that they stay off the radar. And we have this new resident, the person that lost his daughter and wife that Fred was talking about, isn't willing to play by the rules, basically, is what we're learning in issue 1. And we're about to find out why. That's kind of how it ends. It's a violent book. It definitely has some blood and some fist fighting and things like that. Some bad people, but I like it. I like realism. That's one of my favorite styles of comics. So looking forward to what happens next.
Yeah, like this show. I said show, but this book feels like a show. Like something you would find on FX or AMC.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoy it. I like the revenge aspect. At the end where he basically says, what does he say? Like, I'm no longer going to play. Let me see what it says. A toast to a new life in Eden where the rules are about to change.
Yeah. So he's going to stir the shit.
Yeah. And I guess we could mention, like, there's like 3 different stories happening in the first issue, which was all well done. Like is it Mark, the mayor?
Mm-hmm.
He's having issues with his family, his wife, and his child. And then you have the Florida part where there's the little kid that's getting chased by gang members and things, and that's going to open up. I'm interested.
That's Mark's mother.
Yeah, I'm interested into like what's going to happen next issue. I'm definitely all in on this book. This is definitely probably. Would you say this is your favorite book of the week?
Yeah, this is probably the book I enjoyed of the 4 we're reviewing. Yeah, there was another book I liked better, but there's of the 4 we're reviewing, I would say this is my favorite book. Yeah,
it's definitely well done, and you can't sleep on like Top Cow books. Like Matt Hawkins has created like some good stories in the universes, I guess you could say. Like
what I like is how you mentioned that it reminds you of a TV show, and that's Brian Edward Hill's bread and butter, coming from screenwriting and screenplays and writing for TV, and like you said, he wrote a script and he handed it off to actors, in this sense artists, and let them go, and the artists created a lot of this story. That's why you always have to credit your artists. There's a big thing going on today about that. Is a pretty big comic book site doesn't even put the artist name in that announcement for Paper Girls. Not cool.
Wow,
not cool.
Was that Cliff Chang? He left Cliff out like that?
Yep, left Cliff out. It's what that IO whatever. I haven't blocked, I think. But yeah, Brian K. he's got it's a big deal and blah, but no mention. And then I guess someone said you have to read the article into the second paragraph before they even mention the artist. Wow. Co-creators, man.
Yeah, no
Co-creators. No love for the artist. Not right.
That's messed up.
All right. What is next? Sea of Stars. This is going to be a solicit and a half. Lost in the Wilds of Heaven. Part 1 being a space trucker sounds like a cool job. But in reality, it can be boring as hell. So when recently widowed Gil gets a long-haul gig across the universe, he figures it's safe enough to bring his young son, Caden, along for the ride. That is until their big rig gets bitten in half by a gigantic space leviathan, now separated from his son, with a breech suit that is venting oxygen at an alarming rate. Gil must defy the odds and stay alive long enough to rescue Caden. But meanwhile, Caden seems to be getting all the help he needs from a talking space monkey riding a space dolphin. Great. Or maybe it's the strange powers he's suddenly manifesting. From the winning duo of Jason Aaron, Southern Bastards, Thor, and Dennis Hallam, Cloak and Dagger, Vader, Dark Visions, with the dazzling art by Stephen Green, Hellboy and BPRD, and cosmic colors by Rico Renzi, Spider-Gwen, comes in a brand new science fiction series with all the scope and heart of the never-ending story crossed with the imaginative weirdness of Miyazaki, an intense galaxy-spanning adventure that's suitable for fans of all ages. Written by Jason Aaron and Dennis Hallam. Art and cover by Stephen Green. Colors by Rico Renzi. Lettered and designed by Jared K. Fletcher. Variant cover by Mike Miola. That's pretty cool. Published by Image. Sea of Stars.
I think Sea of Stars was my favorite read of the week, and I'll tell you why. I thought that the father-son relationship in this, where the dialogue back and forth, dad telling him what to do and stuff, and the kid was defiant, it's pretty real.
Yeah.
It's pretty real. I mean, you keep saying stuff, and dad knows, like, the kid's doing something in the back of the spaceship, and he's like, you're touching something right now, and he's like, no, my space suit is. Those type of things back and forth, that's real. You'll get that in the second part of the show when Joey's here. But I also, like, I kind of like the story, like, they're going through these things and they're having difficulties because they've lost the father has lost his wife, the son lost his mom, and maybe that's why the kid's acting out. Also, the kid's defiant. Like, I would say that he's a lot like Dennis the Menace. He doesn't listen to his father, so when his father tells him to do something bad happens. The kid gets lost in space. Dad has to go find him. So this is what the story's going to end up being, and I'm okay with that, But it's kind of predictable, if you've been reading comics for quite a while, you know that that's what's going to happen when you start getting within, like, page 6 or 8, whatever. But I'm okay with it. I do like the colors by Rico Renzi. I like the purple palettes and stuff. I thought that was really cool. The art's cool. I also like that, what's he go by now? Dennis Hallam, not Dennis Hopeless anymore.
Yep, that's what it says, Dennis Hallam.
Yeah, I like that he's working with Jason Aaron, because I don't read Jason Aaron's Avengers. I don't read, like, his Marvel stuff. I do read Southern Bastards, and it's really well. So to see a book that's kind of like a father-son type of book compared to what I've read in Southern Bastards, I'm like, wow, he actually does a pretty good job. How do you feel about this book, Andrew?
I didn't like this one at first. It took me a while to get into it. This is where we get into that sci-fi. This one was more sci-fi than I tend to like. I told you I thought the kid was annoying. But he was annoying. He was meant to be annoying. Yeah. You just described appropriately why he was annoying. But yeah, he was annoying. Yeah,
you did. He did actually text me that and said that I couldn't get into it. The kid's annoying. And I was like, wow, okay.
Yeah, I read my comics to take a break from my children. But it's a beautiful looking book first. Let's get that out of the way. I mean, the colors are amazing. The art is amazing. It feels very space and cosmic. The space creatures themselves, the design are really cool and different and interesting. There's a cool little world being built here. The first issue didn't grab me as much, but I have a lot of hope for it. The solicit helped when it started talking about never-ending story and things of that nature. And you're right, the story is about how the dad overcomes, it's Finding Nemo. The dad's going to have to overcome everything to find Nemo, the little boy who's off on an adventure with the space monkey and the dolphin. The thing about the power is where I'm kind of still confused and intrigued. So I don't know where or why his power is manifested. I guess it was from the big Leviathan. So that's coming. That's something new. I didn't dislike the writing. I like Aaron. This feels like a book that Jason Aaron would write. It has that cosmic feel of his Thors and some of his Avenger stuff that he did. But yeah, it wasn't my favorite, let's just say. It grew on me as the week went on. I read it twice. That helped. And I always, like I said, 3 issues. I always give 3 issues. Let's see where this goes. And if nothing else, it looks good.
Yeah, and I'll agree with you. Like the space aspect, like I'm not a big fan of like outer space stuff, but the dialogue between the father and son and the space monkey and the son was cool for me. So like I kind of forgot it, and maybe it's because of the purples and stuff that it didn't really feel like in space to me, or it could have been that there was a dolphin out there. I don't know.
Yeah, it felt really spacey to me, but that's okay. It'll grow on me, I believe. We'll see. Still an annoying little kid. Maybe the monkey should eat him.
Yeah, right. Speaking of annoying, we got an annoying character coming up.
Oh, my Lord. Yeah, I guess that was the theme of this week. So the next book is Crowded Number 7. After escaping a brutal and televised attempt on their lives, Charlie and Vita abandon Los Angeles for the utopian desert paradise of Las Vegas. With the Reaper campaign against Charlie now worth over $2 million, it's more important than ever to find out who's behind it and how to shut it down. But the journey is half the battle, and even if they manage to live through the 2 states worth of killers, they'll still have to survive each other. That's the key phrase, survive each other. Written by Christopher Sabella. Line art by Rose Stein and Ted Brandt. Colors by Triona Farrell. Lettered by Cardinal Ray. Variant cover by Gabby Epstein. Published by Image. Crowded.
Man, the Crowded is back. And this was like on the Street Level Floppy's podcast, Yumi and Chris, like one of our fan favorites. Well, let's rephrase that. Anything written by Sabella is our fan favorites. But this book, it picks up with a lot of action right from the beginning. We have like little car chases. The news are out there, and they're telling us that. Did they mention that it's over $2 million for?
Yep.
For her head now. Let me just say,
it might be 3 after this.
Right?
Issue.
Yeah. Let me just say that. Shout out to Cardinal Ray for lettering, because they had a ton of dialogue and word bubble placements to put all over this book, but it was done completely well done. Transit,
and social media, and text messages, and all kinds of letters. Yeah.
And it like the word bubble placements doesn't take away from any of the art in this book. And it's just completely action packed, and you can just flow panel to panel because of that. I like this book. It was a nice introduction for a second arc for us. We find out that Charlie's having a heel turn in this issue. She has a social media problem. She's calling out all these people, and you wonder why that it's up to over $2 million, because let's face it, she's a heel.
She's a troll.
Yeah, she is. How many different apps did she have? Like 6 or 7 that she was going.
Yeah,
like she's got issues. She can't stay off that stuff.
But she has an addiction to that stuff. Yes.
Yeah. I do. like I like the story that they're leaving L.A. to go to Las Vegas to get away from everything. We're getting that in this issue. Dialogue's hilarious as always. What we expect from Sabella, especially with this title. The colors I thought were amazing. Like we always say, like this is probably like one of our favorite teams on any
Yes.
book. They work so well with each other. But I'm interested to hear what you have to say about this, Andrew.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm going to hit that team part first. Like, I copied this verbatim. Line art by Rose Stein and Ted Brandt. I'd like to know what that means exactly. Does that mean that one of them is inking and one of them is drawing, or are they each drawing different panels? Because it's rare to use the word line art versus art just. So I'm real curious. That's when I may even send a little message to one of them. And then they give credit. You know, you mentioned Triona Farrell's colors. She gave credit to her flatters. You never see that. So Katie O'Mara and Holly McKend were her flatters. Basically, the flatters, for people who don't know, is colorists to save time pay somebody to do the tedious work of laying flat color in all the areas there has to be color. And it's a skill to do it perfectly so they can select that little piece of color in Photoshop or whatever they color in quickly and fast so that they can do the coloring over it. And so, you know, flatters, I don't know what they get paid. They get paid by the page. And it's just a tedious thing so the colorist can do the fun stuff of coloring and they can color more books. So that's kind of cool. That I've never seen that. I've never seen a flatter credited on a book before. So that kind of threw me for a loop. Now going into the book itself, I love the change of scenery. I think Vegas is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have this new, venue and new toys to play with and new locations. Vita's still awesome. Charlie really annoyed the crap out of me this issue. I told Fred, I go, maybe it's time for Charlie to take a bullet and Vita gets to go home and fix her car and her house and have a wonderful life. Because, man, Charlie's an ass. And she just keeps putting Vita in bad situation after bad situation and seems to have no remorse. So props to Sabella for making a character that just really annoyed me. That's why Fred said a heel turn. Yes, this was Baron Corbin level heel.
Huh.
I just did not like her. But it's a great book. It's a lot of fun. I'm excited for it to continue. It's that Rainbow, what's her name, is gonna play her.
Oh yeah, Rebel Wilson.
Rebel Wilson, that's it. I almost said Rainbow Row. That's an artist. That's a writer. Yeah, Rebel Wilson, and I think she's gonna do Charlie justice.
Oh yeah. She seems to like she can get under your skin and stuff.
Oh yeah,
and
play dumb the way Charlie likes to play dumb.
Yeah,
like I don't think she's dumb. She plays dumb.
Yeah, it's definitely an act. The one thing I did notice in this book is like Vita, she's freaking shredded. Like those pages where she's wearing the tank top and stuff, I was like, holy crap, look at her. Like she's wearing, I think her tank top says like fighting solves everything. And she looks like G.I. Jane level ripped.
I've noticed a progression in the way she's been drawn. She's been drawn a little more that way to look like more of a badass than when it first started. But yeah, she is a badass. Did she let slip that maybe she worked for the FBI?
Yeah.
Was she being, or CIA or something like that?
Yes.
Or was she just being a smart ass?
I think she mentioned like one of those two. I can't remember right offhand because there was, we read so many books this week, but it was one of those, what would you call it?
Agencies.
Agency. I was going to say service.
Yeah. That would work too.
Yeah. Definitely a great book. A lot of action, like always. A lot of fun dialogue. Just altogether fun. I mean, you got to jump on Christopher Sabella books. There's a lot of he does an amazing job on any book that he does. And they're all different genres too. That's crazy that he can write, all different things.
Yeah, my favorite book of the week was Test, when we may hit later in the future, that he dropped this week, and that was a crazy book. So yeah, and that's very different from Crowded, for example.
Before we move on to the wrestling part, I just want to shout out like 3 or 4 books that people might want to check out that we didn't feature. I'm not going to mention Test because I feel like we might cover it next week. But
so good.
Yeah, Thumbs issue 2 by Sean Lewis and Hayden Sherman. That's definitely a good book to check out. He's another one of our favorite writers. Mark Millar and Mateo Scalera's Space Bandits by Image was pretty good. That's the first issue, just came out this week. Jerry Dugan just had his book Analog, issue number 6. If you're not reading Analog, you're missing out because this is like fun dialogue. If you like Dead Rabbits, things like that, that's that type of dialogue in it. It's really good. For one of my favorite Aftershock books, Descendant 3 by Stephanie Phillips and Yevgeny Barakov. Sorry, bro. I'm not good with pronunciations, but that's definitely a fun book. It's a little conspiracy theorist type book, and that's right up my tinfoil hat area. And then my final book that I just want to shout out is She Said Destroy. What is this? Is this 3?
Two or three? 3.
3, and that's by Joe Corello and Liana Kangas by Vault Comics. That's definitely another book that you might want to check out. Yeah, that's what I've read this week of these stuff.
Yeah, there was a lot of good books. I have read a couple. I've read The Space Bandits. I read Test. I like Test a lot. That's what happens when you don't read your books on time, so you don't get to pick it.
This is,
all right.
I'm not a dictator.
No, he's not a dictator, but when you have a procrastinator, which I am, the show must move on. Decisions have to be made. All right. Well, let's move on to the wrestling nerds. Was that Venom?
Yeah, it's my Venom Lucha mask.
So you have a Venom Lucha mask. Right on. Yeah, now you pulled it off and your hair's all sticking up and you look like Donnie Cates. Mm-hmm. Perfect. All you need is tattoos.
No, he's not getting those.
He's not getting those. No. Right on. Okay, so wrestling. Did you guys have fun this weekend? We had 3 shows to watch. Lots of Japanese wrestling. Impact Slammiversary and the MLW Kings of Colosseum. Kind of. They gave us like a little bit of the pay-per-view. They're like doling it out. Like
because that's what, when we read the card, they're taping that completely. So that's going to be like 4 shows, I would think, that it's going to come out of that.
That makes sense. And the one I really wanted to watch wasn't on there, so I was really excited for that tag team match, and no dice. Right. No dice. Why don't we go over MLW first, since we brought it up?
Okay.
It was a quick one. There were only 3 matches and kind of a cool interaction between Selena De La Renta and Conan. They got pretty... Yeah. Man, if you understand Spanish, woo! Even I was blushing, So... Yeah. What did you guys think of that first match of Alexander Hammerstone versus Cotto Brazil?
It was okay. I like the progression of Hammerstone, but to put they basically put him up against like a Kofi Kingston type wrestler.
Small Kofi Kingston type wrestler.
Yeah, it was all right. I thought it was okay. If out of all those matches, I had the most fun with the main event.
Well, I brought that one up because I had fun because you had MJF.
Oh, yeah.
The Hammerstone Coda match was good because Cornette and MJF were going at it.
Yeah, they were going at it. MJF had some great lines.
Yeah, like he said.
On his lap.
And let's talk about whatever pops up. And I was like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
He's pretty, that's pretty witty. But yeah, it was definitely, that was probably the best part of the first match was just him talking because I think I was focused on the dialogue there.
Yeah, me too.
And then, I don't care about the next match. I told you, Myron Reed is not a favorite of mine. So.
And Ray, how do you say?
Ray Oruz.
No, how does Mance Warner say it? Horez. Whores.
Horaz. Ray Horaz.
Yeah.
And then, wow, Conan said some pretty nasty things, like that would get you slapped and your eyes gouged out to her. And then, so I think that's going to be an interesting brawl. Do you think he brings LAX to MLW to start up a...
No, I think he's going to bring somebody, probably, I think he's going to actually bring Dr. Wagner and his son.
Oh, okay.
Because that's why he's already there. I think if LAX goes anywhere, I feel like they're going to go to AEW. Hopefully not NXT.
But there's still a little time before AEW actually is official. I mean, they could squeeze in a match or two.
Yeah, possibly.
At MLW.
Or they could show up. They could just show up and they could, like, interfere.
Mm-hmm.
But, what is it? The Conan thing, he's going to bring Wagner, that's for sure, because they were teasing that. And I had a good idea at the end of the show. I was like, okay, you seen how Selena Del Renta left the last match? Oh, we didn't even get to the last match. Where Fatu was out there. Fatu and Lawler. She was on the phone. I told my dad that next show, LA Park versus Jacob Fatu.
Ooh.
That's what's going to happen.
Yeah?
Yeah, because
that makes sense.
They were asking her when he's going to come out and cash in. And I guess she was on the phone because Contra's going to run everything there.
Do you think they waste his cash in that easily, though? Because I don't think Fatu's going to lose. So maybe it's more interesting to wait and let him hold on to that for a while. Because I think Fatu's going to be the champ for a long time. That's how they keep him from going to WCW or WWE. Why did I say WCW? Keep the belt on him.
It's going to be a huge match. That would be a huge match because they're two big guys. And Fatu can wrestle, and LA Park used to be able to wrestle, but right now he's a hardcore wrestler, I think.
Yeah. It works. It works. But I was happy Fatu won. What about you guys? Yeah. I was so happy. He was ready for a change.
Yeah, definitely, because he's kind of star. Like, when Contra comes in the ring, he kind of steals he's probably the best wrestler out of the three. And he does some crazy stuff like moonsaults off top of cages and things like that. It definitely feels like he's kind of like Umanga.
Well, that's family. So, yeah, that's family.
So, overall, good show. I would have liked the tag team match in it, but I'll forgive it. It was fast. It was quick.
And Pillman's wrestling that match, right?
Yes.
What's his name dropped out?
Davey Boy Smith.
Which, was interesting. Did you see that little thing? Like MJF thinks that it's a bad thing that they're doing that match and with ladders, and he doesn't want to do it.
They said he's scared of heights. That's what Cornette said.
Oh, okay. Wonder how much truth there is to that. Interesting. Very interesting. All right. Well, now let's move on to Impact Slammiversary 17. Overall, what did you guys think of Slammiversary?
I thought it was pretty good, actually. I was surprised. There was probably 5 good matches out of the show. I'm definitely surprised. Like, they got me from the beginning with the Fatal 4-Way match. Kind of set the tone of it because, Desmond Xavier was in there doing crazy stuff, and TJP came back to Impact. And it didn't matter who actually won because, they were just all taking turns showcasing their talents. It
was a good match to get the crowd hyped.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good way to put that.
It set the tone for the second match, I feel.
And what'd you guys think of that? I believe that's the tag team match.
Yeah.
Well, the tag team match I thought was done well. I was kind of upset that the North had won. But I was okay with it because, we still got a good match. And they have to, at least keep the belts for a little bit. They only had them for 1-2 days or whatever.
Yeah.
They're not going to drop it. I felt like the angle with Santana getting hit by the imaginary chair outside and hurting his knee or whatever had happened was their send off to LAX leaving Impact because their contract is up.
Yeah, we covered that on the dirt sheets.
On the dirt sheets.
Yeah, and I feel that the Rascals did a tremendous job. Like I'm becoming like big time fans of their work. No matter what group of two are in the ring, they do a great job.
Yeah.
My only thought on that is, why did they give the belt to the North on Friday and then do this thing on Saturday? Why don't they want the Rascals to be the champ? To me, it seems like a bigger pop is have the Rascals win against LAX one-on-one on the pay-per-view on Slammiversary, and I think that LAX wouldn't mind putting them over. Yeah. And then you go off and you leave them as the champs. I don't understand. I don't think the North has the same appeal.
I think that the Rascals, they're going to end up splitting up because you did see, like, was there one or two times where they accidentally hit each other, like super kicked each other? So, like, you could see that happening. And I feel like Desmond Xavier is, like, the standout out of all the three athletes. But I think that they could add to the X division. Like, you could see Xavier versus Rich Swann, and that'd be a great match, I feel.
What would be the next match, you guys? I mean, we can skip around if you don't think something's very good. What would be the next match you guys want to highlight?
The fourth match was a bathroom break, but we're gonna skip that one.
I want to say one thing about it.
Yeah.
I don't know why, or maybe it's just me. I'm not into the nostalgia. I don't understand why you're putting so much effort into the whole ECW thing. Because we have another ECW possible sighting later in the show. And I don't know. It's like this weekend, I don't give a damn if The Undertaker's going to be with Roman Reigns. The last time The Undertaker made me excited, Joey, you were probably in diapers. I mean, it's just been so long since he's been worth watching. And I'm not into the nostalgia acts. So that's what okay, let's move on.
Okay. All right, you want to talk about the Monsters Ball? All right, so the Monsters Ball, I thought was actually a pretty good match because the three monster women in the match, but then Taya Valkyrie doing all this crazy stuff, but not taking the bumps.
Yeah.
It was kind of funny because when the crowd would get all hyped up because she's about to get slammed on the thumbtacks, and then all of a sudden, no, she reverses it. And then the only time she took a bump was when she didn't even put Rosemary through the table. She pretty much just put herself through the table when she jumped off the apron. And what do you think about the match, Dad? Oh.
I thought it was pretty good. I'm upset that Taya Valkyrie won, but maybe they're just doing that because they want to keep Johnny Impact there.
Who would have you rather have win?
I think it's time to Rosemary gets a title shot. I don't want to see Havoc or even Su Yung. I'd be okay with someone different,
and so they can turn around and lose to one of the other women that wasn't in the match. Because I don't know. I don't think Rosemary or Su Yung as your champion really brings a lot of eyes on you.
Until they take on someone like Tessa Blanchard or
Tessa or
Jordan Grace.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can see being Ty, but the problem is Ty is still the champ because your best wrestler is off fighting guys right now. So
yeah.
That's why that's happening.
Yeah.
But it was a fun match. I'm the same way. I kept saying, man, when's she going to get those expensive fuzzy boots of hers dirty? And they never did. They never got a speck of blood on them or anything. She kept them clean as can be. Oh, the stapler joke?
Yeah, why would you say that?
I don't know. I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is a PG show, but yeah.
Yeah.
They had a stapler.
Yeah.
There were
no staples in it.
You saw
Yeah.
when they had the was it a magazine that she stapled to her head, but it was
Yeah.
just holding it up by the sweat and it just fell off.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
they didn't staple. There's no way those women are. I mean, they're not that hardcore. And let's see. Rich Swann, Johnny Impact. I guess that's kind of a big match because Johnny Impact may be gone.
Yeah, Johnny Impact. They kept hyping it up like it was one of the best matches ever, like you'll ever see. But the only reason why I feel like they did that was because it could be his last for Impact. I feel, but to me, it didn't. I wasn't really excited for it. I was hoping that more would come from it, but the last two matches really delivered for me. Especially, I was surprised for the next match. Actually, surprised me quite a bit.
Johnny Impact is going to WWE to team up with Dolph Ziggler.
No.
And they're going to be the most annoying tag team in the history of all tag.
Or he's
Or
gonna
him
he's
and
gonna,
The Miz.
Yeah, him and the Miz.
Oh, even
We
worse.
might get Johnny Elite, or we might get the Monday Night.
But can you
Layback.
see him and Ziggler standing next to each other with shades and just it'd be such a gross trip back into the 80s or the 90s. No.
It would be a feel good story for him
would-
to sell more T-shirts.
Yeah, and then you just imagine them walking out on the red carpet with fur coats on.
Oh man, yeah. Yeah, Vince McMahon's probably already jumping for joy in his desk at that idea. So. All right, so let's move on to the championship match. Brian Cage, Michael Elgin.
It wasn't a bad match. It was pretty good.
Physical.
Yeah, Brian Cage actually surprised me. Like that big muscle dude did like a 619, and I was like, "What the heck is going on right now?" Like he was pulling out moves that when he was at Lucha Underground, I felt like he was limited, like he was couldn't move. But he's actually upped his game wrestling. He's not just that big bulky dude that just picks things up and he puts them down. He's actually improved. And Elgin, I kind of feel like Elgin was a good matchup for him, but I question after winning, who do you put up against him next?
You said Rhino.
Against Cage?
Yeah.
You said Rhino.
Holy
No.
smoke. Yeah, but Rhino, technically, that wasn't Rhino. We're supposed to believe it's Rhino, but it wasn't Rhino. Rhino, from what I read, his contract ends tomorrow. It ends the 13th. So Rhino couldn't be there. It's impossible for him to legally have been at that pay-per-view.
Or they could have had a.
So it was somebody in a mask, and they were just trying to make you believe it was Rhino because it's gonna be Rhino.
Yeah.
So
That's what I was thinking. I was like, it's a big dude, but then Rhino comes back, but that wasn't him.
I don't think it's going to be Rhino against him. I think if you're going to put Rhino against anyone, you put him against Elgin, and you give like either Moose or Sammy the shot, and probably Sammy because he ended up winning the next match, and he's kind of probably your best heel.
So wait a minute. If Tessa would have won, she would have gotten the match then?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
She's the best wrestler in that company.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would definitely like Sammy just because he's kind of he's got heat. Everyone hates him. I mean, even his own mom probably. So
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Would he be good in a match against Cage? He has to, wrestle.
He's done it before.
Not staple guns and stuff.
He's done it before. Back in Underground, they fought each other. Everybody fought each other. He even fought Phoenix and stuff, but in Cobb. But he would be a good. He might just hit a bunch of pile drivers, and Cage does a lot of stuff to make him look good, because that's what Cage does.
Now the main event. That's the strange thing. The World Championship was not the main event. Callahan, Tessa Blanchard. Thoughts?
I was completely surprised. Tessa Blanchard took a lot of big bumps, and she hit her head on the cage outside the bars, whatever you may call them. Not just once, but twice in a row, and I was like, "Holy crap!" Did she okay those, that to happen? Because that was pretty. It looked pretty violent, but maybe it wasn't. I don't know. Yeah, she surprised me. Like just the things that she did, like with him and stuff. And what surprised me the most is that he, for the type of wrestler he is and the reputation he has, that he allowed her to like get those spots on him. Like he was selling. But maybe it's because he has no other job other than Impact right now. So.
Yeah. And did you see at the end how everybody thought Tessa was going to win because she hit like 2 or 3 big moves on him? And then he just hit her once and it was over. It was just laid it down.
That's heel work.
I was okay with that ending. I guess in the end, was this just a big old weird PR thing? Because they're just... It's been a PR splash about it since it happened,
Right.
Impact keeps putting stuff out. Greatest moment in women's wrestling. Greatest. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, well,
let's settle down.
Settle
down.
Settle down a little bit.
We did cover on the Dirt Sheets episode 1 that the rumor is that she had lost because they didn't want her to be like Roman Reigns and feel like she was forced down your throat. Do you feel like she's forced down her throat?
I think she's starting to get to be that way. The way they've spent this whole week hyping her, like it's like, okay.
Really?
All right. It's not fair. Okay, I understand it's different wrestling, but Becky and Charlotte did just main event a WrestleMania. Okay? And I like Tessa as much as the other ones, but I say Charlotte is pound for pound as good as Tessa Blanchard. I'll go on record on that. I think they would tear it up more. Charlotte can do some incredible athletic things as well, and she's pretty damn big and strong. So, okay, yeah, she fought Callahan. Okay, but, wrestling's not, it's not an MMA fight. So, I don't know. I just think that they're kind of pushing it a little too much. They listened to you on the first show, Fred, when you said run with Tessa, and they ran a little too far. So get her back in the women's division. So yeah, how's she going to lose now? I mean, seriously, you've built her up to be this monster that beats dudes. And so what woman is going to beat her?
Probably they'll have like a heel turn with like Jordan Grace or something because, they do have the storyline of them working out together and stuff, and their friendship could be ruined. I don't know. I mean, she's a big girl. She seems to be able to wrestle. She could probably beat Sammy up. So
here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking Impact. I mean, Johnny Impact's trying to leave. His wife has to go with them. That's why he's probably not leaving yet. So she could lose the title to Tessa Blanchard, and then Tessa Blanchard could be face of the women's division, and it just takes those turns. But would they let her fight men with the women's title?
They might, if they have nothing else. I mean, Impact does need to figure out what they want to do and get some new wrestlers in there that aren't old. I mean, Swan is somebody they probably should start focusing on more. And now, looking at it from that point of view, yeah, I guess you're right, Fred. You do have to break up the Rascals because they need some individual wrestlers.
Yeah.
They need some more people.
It's going to be sad times.
And without LAX, it's not like the tag team division is going to be a focus anyway. I think maybe them and a couple of other feds are going to maybe give up on tag team a little bit because there's like a buying race going on between WWF and AEW. I know I'm messing it up. I can't get it straight today. WWE and AEW are buying every tag team. They're trying to say they have the best tag team division. And they're going to leave the Indies tag team less. There's not going to be very many tag teams out there in the Indies. Watch. Because if they snap up LAX, one of them, yeah. I mean, who's the next? Who would you consider a big tag team that's not signed to the major three? I'm going to consider New Japan the third. I mean.
Okay.
The Briscoes.
The Briscoes? Yeah, they're gonna die at ROH. Yeah. But after that,
Gorillas of Destiny.
No, they're Japan.
Oh, you said not Japan?
Yeah,
Japan's
not Japan.
one of the big three. That's what he said.
In my mind, Japan's one of the big three.
So Briscoes and probably
The Kingdom? No, Villain Enterprises could be a big tag team.
they're too old.
They're not. Well,
Oh,
one
Maybe
of
the
them.
Kingdom. Maybe the Kingdom.
The Bouncers.
Don't even care.
The beer dudes.
Yeah,
Is that
like
the beer dudes?
the fat Larry the Cable Guy dude with no teeth, toothless,
yeah.
and then the Baymax dude from Big Hero 6. Those two guys together.
Yeah.
That's my team.
Okay.
No,
Which one is Vinny? Which one is the one that has the axe for the Kingdom?
that's Vinny. The dude. He looks kind of like Tyler Rex that used to wrestle in WWE.
I know we're jumping ahead a little bit, but I don't know what was grosser: Vinny's finger being in the dude's mouth, or the fact that toothless dude's mouth was gross. I don't know if it was grosser for Vinny or if it was grosser for.
The bouncer, the bouncer dude. He has summer teeth. You know what that is? Some are here, some are there.
Yeah.
You heard what he said, right? That he told him. He said, "Stop biting my finger," and then the ref told him to stop biting his finger. And he said, "How am I biting your finger? I don't have any teeth."
Yeah. That whole thing, I was like, oh, I don't know what's grosser, having had that dirty finger in his mouth or putting your finger in that guy's mouth. I don't know. Crazy. Okay. Well, overall, I think Impact did a good job. It's amazing. Their pay-per-view or their regular weekly show doesn't do much for me, but they seem to like hit home runs on their pay-per-view. So they at least know how to make a pay-per-view, you know. Got to give them that.
Right.
All right, let's see. So let's hit the G1 Climax round 1 really quickly. I know the G1 is not something to spend a lot of time on because there's going to be like matches like every day almost coming up, and we couldn't even talk about them faster than they happen. But what was your favorite match, Joey, for the G1 for the A bracket?
Kenta and Kota. That was probably my favorite match. It was my favorite match because the Kota and Kenta, they really put on a show because Kota Ibushi is actually like amazing wrestler and nobody has seen Kenta since like his first couple weeks on NXT. So
Ibushi sells to the point that I never know when he's really hurt or he's faking.
Yeah.
That guy has me so... I believe that he's basically has a concussion the whole time he's out there.
Yeah. just enters the arena, already has a concussion.
Yeah. Just the looks on his face and everything. I'm like, oh, is he really hurt?
Mike, you said New Japan has the best expressions, and we saw a little bit of that in Tessa Blanchard in that match. Yeah. That's what.
Now, Tessa's good. I'm not knocking Tessa. I just feel like she's being overexposed by that company.
Yeah, we're talking about New Japan. We already moved
talking about
past
face expressions. All right.
You gotta stay on script.
Go ahead.
So, Fred, what was your match?
Well, I don't know. I mean, okay, I do know. Will Ospreay versus Lance Archer. Everyone knows that because that's all I ever talk about. Will Ospreay, because he's the greatest.
And he lost.
Yeah, but. It was against a heavyweight, and that's the first time he's wrestled against a heavyweight, and he kept he did his finisher a few times, and he showed that he can hang with them.
He's like a 50-year-old heavyweight.
And you said it was his hometown.
And it's his hometown, so they had to give him the W there. So, and you know that Will Ospreay's not going to win because they're probably going to have Naito or Tanahashi or Jay White versus Okada. One of those guys. They're not. Japan's not ready for Ospreay yet to do that. You can't just go from 0 to 100 like that fast.
Yeah.
But
it was a good match, though.
Yeah, it was.
I like that big old guy from the 80s, man. That's what he looked like. He had the hair and then his pants.
Yeah, he was
kind of looked like something Shawn Michaels would wear. You know?
Yeah, he looked. He was really agile for a big fella. I mean, he walked around 2 sets of ropes, like not like 4 steps like the Undertaker. He walked literally around, halfway around the ring. And that was pretty impressive. I mean, although Will was holding his hand, but still.
Yeah, it was an impressive match. He just basically kicked out of all of Will's stuff.
Yeah, because
Will hit him hard because he's bigger.
Yeah,
that's the story you're telling, that he's a big monster, and which is cool. I mean, it's good to have someone like that on your roster. Definitely can get some great matches out of him.
That was the first Block A match, right?
Yeah.
I think so.
So that was a good way to, set the tone for it, to finish off with Okada. You had your starting pitcher, and then Okada came out to close it out.
Yeah, Evil and Bad Luck Fale, that was a bathroom break. That was horrible. That was not a good match. Sonata and Zack Sabre was surprisingly good. I'd like to see Sonata do more singles stuff. I think there's a future there for him, that he could really become a breakout star. It's time to maybe break up that team.
Yeah, I don't think he's ever won like one of the major belts. Like, he's had the tag team, right?
Yeah, they've had tag team, but I don't think they've ever split up and won something singles matches.
I think it's time. I think he could do something interesting. It's time to let him go fly. Let the birdie free.
Yeah, he's definitely the better wrestler of the two, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what was your favorite match? Because I don't think you got to...
I didn't really say one because, I don't know, I liked the Kota Ibushi and the Kenta match a lot, but I was telling you that I was really stoked with the Cobb and Ishii stuff.
Yeah.
And I know it was, a tag team just to like kind of hype it up, but they got me hyped, man. The whole stuff of them like smashing bodies into each other and just looking at each other and nobody moving. And one big thing I noticed is Cobb looked happy. I think Cobb's leaving Ring of Honor. That to me told me he's leaving Ring of Honor. He looked happy. He was into that match. His expressions, he was excited. His moves were quick. He was snapping those slams and things like that. And after watching him in that Taven match where he looked like he was sleepwalking through that whole thing. Like he just didn't care. He wasn't really. I think he's excited to be in this New Japan tournament.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for that match. It's going to be 2 big old bulldogs just, going at each other. It's going to be a lot of fun. I like that. So that was probably my favorite moment. Then Okada, Tanahashi was great.
Yeah.
It's Okada and Tanahashi, So, but good stuff. The only thing I didn't like of the day was pretty much the Evil and the Fale. It's like, anyone who gets stuck fighting Fale is going to have a bad match. I don't know why he's in this tournament. They should have put somebody else in there. So, oh well. I guess everybody needs to get a win.
Yeah.
Okay. Wrestling from this week, do we want to go over ROH? It was kind of blah.
Well, I think we kind of already did, because we mentioned the Bouncers versus the Kingdom. The only thing we didn't mention is, Tracy Williams versus Matt Taven, which, they tape it ahead of time before Best in the World. So I feel like it loses interest with the storyline to me, because it's not even compatible with the pay-per-views.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know. I mean, I think it was a better match than it would have been without Tracy Williams, but it was forgettable. I didn't care. It was a forgettable show.
Lifeblood is doing good in the singles matches. Maybe they should split up and do those.
Or just be your traditional stable. They can be a stable that doesn't have to be a team. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they can do their own things and get back together and show off the belts to each other and all that kind of stuff. And then NXT this week. I had a few comments on NXT. Well, we can get into after we do the matches, but what did you guys think of the Street Profits defending their titles? Did you think they were going to lose because they've been called up? Were you kind of surprised that they held on to those?
No. I mean, I think they're just brought up to the main roster just for vignettes, and that's it. Just to be funny.
Yeah. I wasn't
also
surprised.
because Private Party exists in AEW.
Maybe. Could be.
I saw a lot of things on NXT this week that I felt like they were AEW related. Just me, but maybe I'm just looking too hard. What'd you guys think of Damian Priest coming out and squashing El Blanco Loco?
You mean Blanco Loco from New York or Mexico?
Oh, yeah.
Mexico.
Yeah, New York, Mexico.
Mexico,
yeah,
New
caught
York.
That too?
Yeah, I was like, oh, yeah, this is lame. It should have been called El Jobberino. Because he was a jobber. Damian Priest, it's another squash. I like how they're booking him, looking powerful and stuff. I did like, what I did like is that they're showing vignettes for, who is it? What is his name? The big fella.
Killian Dane?
Yes, Killian Dane.
Oh, yeah.
And that's going to be awesome because maybe he gets booked against Damian Priest. That would be a good match.
It would.
I could see Priest getting an early call up before they've even had a chance to really develop him. I could see somebody putting a tape of one of his things in front of Vince, and Vince, oh, look how big he is. You know what I mean? And Vince just grabbing him. Man.
He's like, put him against Baron Corbin.
Yeah, you're totally right. I totally could see him.
That's
right there.
good shit.
Good shit. Put him with Shane.
Oh, boy.
Wait, we don't even get to talk about the Kevin Owens thing because that's real. That's WWE. That's
no, because it's
independent.
fake. It's fake. It's not even real. It was trying to recreate CM Punk.
Yeah.
I love Kevin Owens, and he's incredible, and his delivery is great. But they're just trying to recreate CM Punk.
Yeah.
Well, who did it first? Paul Heyman did. So, Paul Heyman.
He did it before Punk?
Yeah. Yeah.
There you go. I didn't know that.
But CM Punk's famous for it.
Yeah. The pipe bomb. And then we had, and I didn't write the names down. I'm a dummy. We had the tournament match.
Oh.
And now I can't remember the guy's name.
Is his name now Jordan Miles
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he smiles.
versus Boa?
Yeah. Wasn't Boa from didn't they say Beijing, Canada or something weird like that too? I think they blew his.
I don't know, but it was nice to see Jordan Miles because he's very athletic and he has a lot that he can bring. But I'm kind of concerned because Apollo Crews can do the same stuff. He might not be as quick. Apollo Crews might not be as quick as Jordan Miles, but they're very similar style wrestlers. Yeah, with this 450 was beautiful. He does a lot of great things. He's celebrating. He's showing he's having a good time. I love the ACH and the Indies, and I just hope that they book him correctly.
Yeah, he's smaller. I hope they book him correctly too.
Yeah.
And you say that it's funny. Apollo Crews is coming down next week.
He can, and Leo Rush can do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but Leo Rush isn't. People don't like Leo Rush. That would be the big difference. Is this guy was already his smile.
He has charisma.
His everything.
He has charisma.
People were like, this guy's kind of cool. He got people on his side really quickly.
Yep, he won him over with his attitude and his work ethic.
His smile.
Yeah. I mean, hey, it helps.
Yeah,
it helps. Go with what works for you. What I noticed though is, okay, there were two pre-recorded promos. You have the Velveteen Dream one, and you had the Shayna Baszler one, and they kind of made them like they were interviews to the press asking questions, and I felt like that was a direct correlation to trying to compete with AEW, how they do their scrum interviews at the end of their events.
Like with Cody.
Have you seen that?
yeah.
But they do it. The difference is that AEW is doing this with real reporters. Yeah. And WWE's doing it with fake stuff. And doesn't WWE see that that's a big mistake? Because it looks stupid. To me, it looked dumb.
They just got people with their phones up in their face, just like, oh, here, let's just ask you some questions.
And they ask them a scripted question versus a real question, which is what's happening with AEW at the thing. That's why people like it. It's like, it's bringing that sports vibe to it. Like afterwards, you get to review you get to interview the wrestlers without anybody telling them what they can say.
Right.
You know. But I think it's happening. I think there's little things happening, and I keep noticing every week, and I love it. It's like that nuance where you get deep into the wrestling, like, okay, I think they're doing some of these things to kind of compete. Because I still think it's going to be NXT versus AEW. It's not going to be WWE. It's going to be NXT versus AEW.
It's going to be Evolve. The Evolve show.
They don't have enough shows. But I think that's what that is. All right. Well, those are the wrestling matches for this week. We have some great pay-per-views coming. We'll just mention them real fast this weekend. You have a lot more G1. I think we have G1 on Saturday and Sunday and Monday. We have the AEW pay-per-view on Saturday, Fight for the Fallen. And you have a WWE pay-per-view on Sunday. Oh, and then there's that Evolve show, too. I forgot about that, which I'm going to check out the Evolve show.
Yeah.
I'm not checking out the WWE one, and I'm not being a smart ass and saying, I have yet to see anything that's going to be on that show that I want to see. I still don't. They're still not giving me a reason to tune in. And with G1, with so much G1 going on, I'd rather watch that.
Yeah, there's a ton of content to take in, and there's no rush to get through the WWE stuff. It'll be there on your video on demand stuff.
Now I'm curious about the Evolve. I won't lie. That looks like it has some really cool matchups, and yeah, that'll be fun.
I think like Extreme Rules, like the one match that I would hope would be good is Samoa Joe versus Kofi, because I think Joe needs to get a belt.
See, I agree with you, and I'm not sure they'll do it.
Well, they might let him win, but then guess they'll probably have Brock Lesnar come out and cash in and beat him up and win.
Yeah. Something that annoyed me. I think Finn and Shinsuke, if the real Shinsuke decides he wants to wrestle again, not the retired laying on the beach, not wanting to wrestle anymore Shinsuke, that has some possibilities. But I've been burned by Shinsuke enough. You turn up for his matches and he kind of phones it in. He just isn't the guy he was. So that's why. If I hear it was great, like you said, I'll fire up the old network and check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward, see what's on. But I don't care about all this other craziness they're doing. And I told you, I'm not into the nostalgia. Undertaker can no longer wrestle. Sorry, he can't. So, oh well. All right. Well, we're going to go now into our listener questions. Do you have them in front of you by any chance, Fred? Do I need to look them up?
No, I don't.
I can look them up.
I thought you had them.
I did, but I closed it when I was answering a DM to you about whether we were ready to get on and all that stuff. So, tell a joke, Joey.
I'm not funny.
Well, you have to try to be funny.
Well, my dad thinks he's funny. What do you got?
What?
You think you're funny?
I don't have a joke. Like I had the dad jokes out the other night, but
yeah.
Give us a dad joke.
We're gonna have to do some editing right here because nobody's funny.
No, we're not funny.
I'm not funny.
It's such a serious
You
show.
look funny.
Oh.
All right. Yeah, I found it. Okay. All right. Okay, the first one, Joey, you might not know the answer to, but you better make something up.
All right, let's get it.
Everybody is going in it. So, this one comes from Raymond X, Peace Loves Comics. He asks us, what indie comic do you hope gets turned into a film or a TV show next?
Let me see the comics.
Yeah, not Batman.
Black Hammer. It looks
Hammer.
It looks good.
Okay. All right, we'll move on now. Red, what do you like?
I think Bone Parish would be the perfect pick for that, because most of the other indie comics are already options, so that's one that hasn't been.
That makes sense. I don't know. When I thought about this, all I could keep thinking about is my favorite comic got adapted, and it had the perfect cast, and it had the perfect directors, and everything was perfect, and they canceled it. God rest in peace, good old Deadly Class. Everything else just seems blah after losing that. I know, let's do Beasts of Burden.
What?
Because
No one wants to see some dogs doing magic.
Wait. Because no one can complain about the casting.
Oh, yeah, that's a good
So
point.
we don't have months and months complaining about so and so.
Unless the schnauzers are on online on Twitter being like, that's not a real schnauzer. He has 1/8 something in it, like 1/8 beagle in him.
Yeah, he has beagle in him. He cannot do the schnauzer justice.
Yeah.
But it's, okay, we'll go with Beast of Burden for that purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, other than that, I'm still upset with the Deadly Class. That's hard to get excited about another show.
But it's a TV show. So you don't have
What's
to,
that?
I said it's a TV show. You don't have to go to the movies.
Well, because it was so good. It was so good. And it had like cool people cast. Everything was perfect. And most of the time, they don't do a perfect job. They take your comic and they do a real bad job.
Well, you said they were casted perfectly, but Maria is from Venezuela, and then you have the. So I mean, some people might take that the wrong way.
Yeah, well, too bad. She was awesome. I hope she ends up somewhere else. Hopefully, spicy Latina gets another role. Well, the next question, we'll make it a simple one. We were asked. Do you remember the guy's name? We were asked about our favorite finishing move.
Oh yeah, that's from Jake from the Nerd Grounds. Asked that.
Yep, Nerd Grounds Jake asked what our favorite.
What's your favorite finishing move?
I'm still yours.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
You better not.
Oh, okay.
You'll go to your room.
You go first. You go first.
My favorite finishing move is the Canadian Destroyer, but when it's done by like the one Teddy Hart from the top rope, when he does it on top of somebody like Davey Boy Smith's holding the guy up on his shoulders and he hits it from that high up. That's sweet. I know it's just a somersault, but it looks really cool.
All right.
Nice.
Well,
is it a Canadian Destroyer if a non-Canadian does it?
I don't think Canadians
doesn't
They don't get into that tribalism stuff. They're like really cool people.
Pentagon Jr. does it, and they still call it the Canadian Destroyer. I like what Ray Phoenix does.
They're
that
giving people
when Ray Phoenix does that rolling cutter where he rolls across the ground and just like or RKO's him. He just roll.
That's your move.
Yeah. Well, yours is yours. You just like fall over.
Mine is the Hogan leg drop. Because nobody kicked out of the Hogan leg drop. It was the most
He just left. He just got up and left. He put down his headphones and left.
No. I mean, who kicked out of the leg drop? Who? All those moves, they kick out of them 5-6 times. 5-6 times. Everyone's kicking out of finishers left and right. But the Hogan leg drop, bam, it was over.
Oh, my God.
He did it to Andre, and it was over. Over.
Why is he on the podcast?
Oh, my God. Wow.
So that's it. I'm going with the leg drop.
Okay.
Let's move on to... okay. Young Bucks versus Booster Gold and Blue Beetle. Who wins?
Which Blue Beetle?
Ted Cord.
That's the old one?
Yeah.
Booster Gold and Blue Beetle. Do they get to bring in like their utilities and their gadgets and stuff?
I don't know.
It depends.
Set ground rules.
To me, it depends because who's booking it. Is WWE booking it, or I mean AEW booking it,
or DC,
or is it DC's editors booking it? Is Brian Michael Bendis involved in this in any way, fashion? Because that could just mess everything up. I would say that the
King's booking it. We're gonna say Tom King is booking this.
Okay,
match.
so it's a bunch of like dude bros stuff. Okay, I'm gonna go with the superheroes because the Young Bucks. I mean, we're talking like real superheroes versus like people. And then they have like a third member. What's the Yeah, they have Skeets too. So there we go. That's who I'm going with.
See, I'm going to go with the Young Bucks. I don't care if they're heroes. I think Booster's big mouth is going to get kicked. Super Kick Party and Booster and Blue Beetle will be the losers.
But what happens if Skeets causes an issue and Wally West comes out there and kills him?
Well, I think Skeets will remain neutral and stay out of the match. Skeets is good people. He's going to stay out.
So he's barred.
He's the manager.
He's barred from ringside.
He's more like the valet. He's not going to get involved.
Oh.
Yeah, maybe a distraction, but that's it.
Okay.
He's going to hop on the side of the ring. Is it in the ring or is it in a superhero base?
It's in a ring.
In a ring.
It's in a cage.
It's a cage match?
Because those superheroes can't use their stuff to fly away. It's in a cage. Because that's not fair. If they can fly away. So.
All right.
And Rico, that's a terrible question. Don't ever bring that stuff again.
Yeah, I forgot to say who gave us that. The Caribbean Nightmare gave us that. All right. Now, these are some ones we're going to have to think about. Okay. From Pop Culture Cafe, is there a star in the WWE that would help but not hinder AEW?
A superstar or anybody from WWE?
He said a star.
Dang, I was going to say Paul Heyman, but we could take... I got to think about it. What do you got?
What do you have, Fred?
I
know who I have.
I would say either... I would go with Rusev.
What?
Or I would go with Cesaro.
Ooh, Cesaro. I'm with you on Cesaro. I don't know. Rusev might bring some baggage. He says he talks about hinder.
Yeah,
Rusev
if he brings his wife,
just call her baggage.
Well, she is. Have you watched Total Divas? I mean, come on.
Yeah,
she's got issues.
She does have issues.
I would probably say definitely like Cesaro because he's worked with most of those guys on the indies and stuff, and he's a proven veteran. He's a good talent. They're just not booking him correctly. But this week they just showed him going up against teasing against Aleister Black. I think he's one of the guys that Jim Ross was hinting at that they wanted.
Think so?
Yeah.
I've heard that Heyman likes him, so he may start getting a push. I've heard through the grapevine that Heyman's always liked Cesaro, so maybe something finally happens Cesaro's way. I pick Sasha Banks. I think that the one thing that the female division is missing in AEW is a really nasty heel, and Sasha can wrestle, and she can do heel work like nobody's business. She will be like what Jericho is for the men's division. She will go out there and just be nasty and conniving, and we know she can wrestle. So that's my pick, Sasha Banks.
Yeah, she would be like Brandy Rhodes, but actually could back it up.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Instant heat. Sasha walks out there. First it'd be pop, but then if she starts like going into cutting a heel promo, she could instant heat. You know she can do it.
They could use Samoa Joe or Sami Zayn, I would say.
I like Sami. I don't know if Samoa's maybe his best years are kind of, I don't know, to go with all those young guys. But yeah, he'd be good. Those would be someone I would say. It's funny, we're kind of picking some people that were stars in the indies before they got to WWE.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I don't see anyone ever who's been homegrown through the WWE really being successful at AEW.
What about John Cena?
Like Roman Reigns would never work.
But Roman Reigns could find one of his cousins and maybe they could help him.
Nope.
He could.
It's not gonna happen.
I know. Imagine Enzo restarting his career and just a manager.
Okay, now you're just talking nonsense.
But he could, if he didn't ever go to WWE.
Nobody wants to hear about Enzo.
He could have.
You're donezo.
He could have been a manager.
Okay.
All right, we're on to the next question. Can you ever see Impact Wrestling, ROH, and others working with AEW and making a yearly pay-per-view out of it? Sort of their WrestleMania. Scary Thoughts sent that question.
Okay. I'm going to say no. because AEW doesn't need them, because if they wanted them, they could have any talent from those areas. If anything, they should work outside the U.S. and maybe like, which they're already doing, a AAA thing or a New Japan angle, working with them to get more eyes outside the U.S. Impact and Ring of Honor, to me, feels like it's dying. So I'm going to say
They're old
no,
news.
they're not going to work together.
Yeah.
Definitely not
No.
Impact.
And not Ring of Honor.
I think Ring of Honor maybe because there's a working relationship. I mean, All In, Ring of Honor people helped produce All In. So there's a relationship with the people from Ring of Honor. And it could benefit. But you got to look at, like Fred said, what does it benefit AEW to do this? Maybe they get a few talent to spark some interest, but they're not really going to bring that many new eyes to AEW.
Well, they
Like, they want to have a deal with New Japan. That's who they want to have a deal with.
yeah.
Because you want to bring those eyes from Japan. And, you want to have a couple of Japanese stars come down and wrestle.
Who would they use if they had a Ring of Honor or Impact show? If it was Ring of Honor, they would use Matt Taven? I don't think that would happen.
Okay, current roster, let's assume they're still signed there. You have Cobb. You have the Villain Enterprise, because he's Marty Scurll.
Yeah, but he's gone soon.
But he isn't yet, so we're assuming people are still there. You have Lifeblood members. And you would have maybe the Briscoes. Those are the only people I could see.
I don't think they're.
I mean,
They have the lure.
No.
Yeah, they have the allure.
No.
And Bubba.
They have Bandito.
Yeah.
He's part of Lifeblood technically. And there's Flip Gordon, who's now with Villain. I mean, so there's some relationships there. These guys are good friends with Flip Gordon. They're good friends with Marty. Bandito would fit in. I think the Lifebloods guys would fit. You're right. Taven doesn't necessarily, but Cobb.
Cobb's a New Japan guy soon.
Well, until it happens, those would be the guys, yes. Now, let's look at Impact. Who would, from Impact, okay, the women's division for sure. There's lots of women they could take.
Lots of bad.
But the men's side of Impact, who would you take?
Just Brian Cage. Maybe Desmond Xavier.
RVD.
What about the Rascals, if they stay as a tag team?
Yeah, maybe. I would actually split them up and use them against Sammy Guevara or Kip Sabian, those type wrestlers.
Darby Allin.
Yeah, the smaller guys, your little cruiserweight.
You got a light
What
heavyweight.
about Killer Cross?
He's already gone.
Is he for sure gone?
I
Where's he
thought
at?
he's been teasing that.
I don't know. He's been talking it, but my understanding is he still has another year and a half on that contract.
Who's he going to?
Realistic.
AAA?
He wants just out, but I don't think he's getting out of that contract.
But some of
from
those
what I keep reading.
guys can work in AEW, or they've offered to work there. Wasn't Brian Cage teased that he was supposed to be in Fyter Fest?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Impact is a lot looser on letting their guys go do things.
Because they have nothing to pay them. They can't pay them.
So that they have to go look for work elsewhere.
Yeah, but they still they're on their contract there, but when they're not taping for that, they can go elsewhere.
Like when Killer Cross is on AAA?
Yeah.
I
I think AEW has some great, relationships going. They have the OVW, is it OVW? The one in China? The one that Shima comes from.
Oh, that's called some Oriental something or other.
So they have that. Then they have AAA.
Mm-hmm.
They obviously have some kind of relationship with one of the women's wrestling in Japan.
DDT.
That's where they're getting all these Japanese wrestlers from.
I think the biggest selling point for them to work with anyone is a TV deal. And Impact doesn't know where they're working. They flip around everywhere. I heard that they could be going to what's the one that New Japan is on?
Access.
Access. They might be getting a deal with them. But they're always like, they've been 4 different companies within the last 2 years or something. Twitch is the only stable thing they have. Ring of Honor's on like a small Sinclair Broadcasting. They're not necessarily on big network TV either.
MLW's in a better broadcast situation than either of them.
Yeah, like beIN Sports, but like AAA, they have their own. They can be shown throughout, Mexico, and we can.
Well, so can MLW. They do the broadcast in Spanish. That Selena De La Renta is the Spanish commentator, but it's not live because she has to, the day after the show, because I interviewed with her, she drives down to Florida to the studios and records the commentary over the tape. And so, yeah, she can't do it live because she's performing, but she records the commentary and it's released on the Mexican or the South American. It goes all the way into South America. But beIN Sports.
Yeah, but then we can also talk about, like, Impact does have a streaming service, but is it, worth it? I think New Japan has probably the best like TV for them. And then,
I don't have access. It's not available in my part of the country.
Well, if you get Sling TV, you could get it, but that's if you switch.
That's another thing I gotta add.
Another streaming.
I just ordered the New Japan World.
Yeah,
that works.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah, that question could be used like many different ways, but yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's a big enough draw with the names in either one of those companies for.
Now I could see those companies getting together and doing something without AEW to compete.
Yeah,
that would work.
I could see Impact and Ring of Honor and, I don't know, name a couple others, smaller ones, all get together and do a big pay-per-view.
Yeah.
To help them to put eyes on their product. But I just think we're going to get to a point really soon where we can't even call AEW indies. If it really works out the way it's supposed to work out, they are going to be a major show on a major network coming out once a week. They're not going to be indies. Their production level is going to be so much higher.
Yeah.
That they're not going to look like, they already don't look like indies, other than the style of wrestling. All right, I think that's all the questions. I'm pretty sure that's all of them. Yep. So I guess we'll call it a night then. Enjoy the wrestling this weekend. Enjoy the rest of your Friday, and give our handles. I'm at Real Comics, and Fred.
I'm at Comics Fred. You can find our podcast on Twitter at Indie Alley. We have a YouTube channel as well. What's the YouTube channel?
Indie Alley.
It's Indie Alley. You search Indie Alley
the second
on YouTube.
One.
And the Twitter is Street Level Floppy. And that's all that we got, I think. Do we have a Snapchat?
Wait, the Twitter. Oh, the network Twitter is at Street Level Floppy. Yes, I forgot about that one.
Yeah.
There's so many things. Yeah.
Too many things.
Yeah, if you've listened all the way through and stuff, if you have iTunes, give us an iTunes review, please, so more people can see us or hear from us, or we show up in on their phone, or wherever we show up at, wherever you listen to us from.
Get your dad a Snickers. Hurry. It's fading fast.
Yeah, it's getting late. I have to do that podcast with Matt tomorrow.
All right. Well, let's call it a night. Everybody take care. We out.
Peace.
Peace.